The year is 1863. The art world is locked in tradition, with realistic depictions of people, places, and events dominating the scene. But a new movement is quietly bubbling under the surface, one that will challenge everything we thought we knew about art. Modernism emerges not with soft strokes, but with a firm push against convention. At the heart of modernism is the idea that art should not merely reflect the world as it is, it should challenge our perception of it. The Impressionists, including figures like Monet and Degas, begin to experiment with light, color, and movement rather than rigid, realistic forms. Their paintings aren't about capturing fine details, but conveying the essence of a moment. This was the first sign that art was ready to break free from its old constraints. But it wasn't just about color or technique. The Industrial Revolution, rapid urbanization, and political upheaval were reshaping society, and modernist artists began reflecting these changes. They no longer wanted to just depict what they saw. They wanted to explore how they felt. And this shift in artistic intent laid the foundation for an art movement that would go on to change everything. But as we'll soon see, this shift would provoke controversy. The more modern artists pushed the boundaries, the more traditional critics fought back. Modernism is more than just a style. It's a way of thinking. The early modernists weren't content to simply mimic the world around them. They were after something more. A deeper emotional truth about the human experience. At the core of this shift is abstraction, the idea that art should transcend the literal and get at something essential, something unseen. Artists like Wassily Kandinsky pushed abstraction to its limits, using color and form to convey emotion rather than represent the world directly. In his mind, shapes and colors could communicate on a deeper, almost spiritual level, much like music does. What we see isn't just a figure or a landscape, it's an emotional experience in itself. Then there's the rise of fragmentation. Inspired by Cubism, artists like Pablo Picasso and Georges Braque broke down traditional representations of form, creating artworks that showed multiple perspectives at once. The subject matter, whether a still life or a portrait, was dissected into geometric shapes, challenging the viewer to think critically about how they see the world. These features aren't just artistic choices. They're a reflection of a world that feels fragmented itself. Rapid technological advancements, 2 world wars, and cultural shifts left many people feeling disconnected, and art mirrored this. Modernism wasn't just an aesthetic, it was a response to the chaos of the modern world. When we think of modernism, a few names immediately come to mind: Pablo Picasso, Georges Braque, and Marcel Duchamp. These artists didn't just paint, they changed the way the world understood art itself. Picasso, with his groundbreaking work in Cubism, shattered the conventional approach to perspective and representation. His Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, 1907, was a radical break from the past, dismantling the human figure into angular, fragmented shapes. It was chaos, but also a new way of seeing. Then there was Georges Braque, Picasso's close collaborator in the Cubist movement. Braque's work, such as Violin and Candlestick, 1910, deconstructed forms and images into geometric shapes, showing us that objects could be represented from multiple angles simultaneously. What Cubism proved was that perspective itself could be redefined, and in doing so, the very act of viewing became more complex and introspective. But modernism wasn't all about abstraction. Edvard Munch, with his iconic painting The Scream, 1893, tapped into the human psyche, exploring themes of anxiety, fear, and existential dread. His vivid use of color and distorted forms captured the emotional intensity that modern life seemed to breed. Each of these artists pushed boundaries in different ways, but all of them questioned the fundamental nature of art, and in doing so, they redefined it. But what was the price of this new freedom? Would their radical visions endure, or would they alienate the very audience they sought to engage? Modernism isn't just an idea, it's a visual revolution. A handful of key artworks embody the essence of the movement, and these pieces continue to challenge our perceptions to this day. Take Pablo Picasso's Guernica, 1937, for example. This monumental painting depicting the horrors of war and violence is not just a reflection of the Spanish Civil War. It's a universal statement about the human costs of conflict. Picasso used fractured forms and raw emotion to depict chaos and suffering, and the black and white color scheme intensified the bleakness of the scene. Then there's Marcel Duchamp's Fountain, 1917, a porcelain urinal signed with a pseudonym Art Mut. It was a slap in the face to traditional notions of art. By presenting a mass-produced object as art, Duchamp asked, "What truly defines art?" The audacity of this act was so disruptive that it opened the door for future avant-garde movements, questioning art's very foundations. We can't forget Edvard Munch's The Scream, a masterpiece of emotional intensity. This piece encapsulated the angst and alienation of the modern condition. Its swirling skies and contorted figure screamed in a way words could never capture. The painting became an icon not just for the expressionist movement, but for the very essence of human anxiety. These artworks aren't just pieces of canvas, they're windows into a new reality, a fragmented, chaotic world that artists were desperately trying to make sense of. But as we marvel at their beauty and complexity, we can't help but wonder, did these works resonate with the public in the way the artists intended, or did they cause more confusion than clarity? Modernism has left an indelible mark on the art world, but its influence goes beyond galleries and museums. The movement's rejection of tradition and embrace of abstraction, individual expression, and experimentation laid the groundwork for much of the art we see today. But the question remains, is modernism still relevant in our fast-paced, ever-changing world? In many ways, modernism is more relevant than ever. The core ideas of the movement, challenging norms, questioning established truths, and embracing personal expression, resonate with contemporary artists. Today, contemporary art continues to explore themes of identity, social change, and the human condition, just as modernism did a century ago. The abstract works of artists like Mark Rothko or the emotional intensity found in Francis Bacon's paintings echo the spirit of early modernism, while still pushing new boundaries. Modernism's influence also lives on in architecture and design. The sleek, functional, and minimalist aesthetics of the Bauhaus movement continue to shape our cities, furniture, and even technology. Look around. The clean lines of modern architecture, the simplicity of digital interfaces all trace their roots back to the modernist desire to strip away the unnecessary and focus on the essential. But while modernism has shaped much of what we see today, it has also faced its critics. As the world became more complex and fragmented, some argued that the movement's idealism was no longer enough. The question remains, has modernism outlived its usefulness, or does it still offer us the tools to interpret the chaotic world we live in today? Modernism was a revolution, a redefinition of what art could be, a challenge to the past, and an exploration of the complexities of the modern world. Through abstraction, fragmentation, and emotional intensity, modernist artists left us with a body of work that continues to influence us today. Their boldness, their willingness to break the rules, and their pursuit of deeper truths set a new standard for creativity and expression. But the story doesn't end here. Modernism's influence is still unfolding, shaping the art, architecture, and design of the future. If you found this exploration of modernism thought-provoking, then join the conversation. Like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of art history. And don't forget to share this video with friends who might be curious about the revolutionary legacy of modernism.